Most real estate deals that don't go through fall apart in the final 48 hours for reasons fully within the control of the parties. Last week, I was part of a closing that almost fell through because we were waiting on the seller's payoff that was not ordered until the day of closing, which just so happened to be the same day the buyer's loan commitment expired. All we could do was wait and sit around at the closing table on a Friday afternoon and hope the payoff came in. Not ideal. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what happens during the closing process from the time the contract is signed until the money is wired out. By the end of this video, you'll know how to avoid catastrophic mistakes like this, and your closings will be smooth as butter. My name is Bishoy Habib, and I'm the realest real estate attorney you know. Over the past 12 years, I've closed over 1,000 transactions totaling $12 billion. I've seen every possible way a closing can go wrong, and today, I'm going to show you how to keep your deal on track. Let's break this down into 3 phases. Pre-closing, closing day, and post-closing. Think of it like launching a rocket. Pre-closing is your preparation and countdown, closing day is liftoff, and post-closing is making sure your rocket stays in orbit. Let's start with pre-closing. The moment you have a signed contract, the clock starts ticking. Your first deadline is getting that earnest money deposit to the title company or closing attorney, usually between 1 to 3 business days. You miss this deadline and your contract could be void. Buyers and sellers can fall out of contract because the deposit is missed by 1 day. I see it all the time in my world. By the way, don't worry about writing all this down because I actually went ahead and created a closing checklist for you that covers all the things you need to know about a smooth closing. You can access it by joining my school community, which is 100% free to join. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below. So your title company will start digging into the property's history. That's what we call searching title. They'll issue a title commitment within a week or so, showing any liens, restrictions, or problems with your property. This document is crucial. It tells you exactly what you're buying and what the problems need fixing before closing. For example, this will show any outstanding mortgages, unpaid taxes or liens, judgment against your seller, etc. Your lender won't fund without clean title, so any issues here need immediate attention. If you're getting financing, your lender begins their process during the pre-closing phase as well. They'll order an appraisal, verify your income, check your credit, and request what feels like every document you've ever owned. If you're a W-2 employee, you should be thankful because the income verification process is 100 times easier. If you're self-employed, be prepared for weeks of going back and forth with the lender to get approved. Slow borrower response time is the #1 reason closings get delayed or canceled. Try to get every requested item to the lender within 24 business hours. If you don't respond timely to the lender's request, the seller or lender could claim you're not acting in good faith to qualify for the loan and therefore say you're in default under the contract and try to keep your earnest money deposit. I've seen it happen many times, so be super responsive as a buyer. Your lender will also require a survey. And even if you don't have a lender, you should still get a survey. This verifies property boundaries, shows encroachments, and identifies easements affecting your property. Order early because both your lender and title company need it to close. Next up, utilities. Nobody thinks about them till they walk into a dark property after closing. Contact every utility company, electric, water, gas, internet, security, all of it, at least 2 weeks before closing to try to get it ramped up. Get the transfer date set up and accounts created in advance. Insurance, non-negotiable. Your lender requires proof of insurance before funding, and some policies, especially in areas with flood or hurricane coverage, can take weeks to put in place. So start this process early. Perhaps the single most important piece of advice I can give you for a smooth closing: provide every requested document immediately. Whether you're the buyer or the seller, when the title company or lender asks you for something, get it to them that same day. Buyers, that means sending over your ID, entity documents, tax returns, or whatever else they need for the loan. Sellers, that means providing your current loan information, HOA contacts, lease documents, and anything else needed for a payoff and closing statement. Every single day you wait creates the risk of missed deadlines and expired commitments. Think about my client from earlier. If the seller had given title their loan information when they first requested it a couple weeks back, we would have had the payoff way before closing and would have had no issues. But the seller didn't get the information to title until the night before, and therefore we had major issues. We managed to save the deal, but just barely, and it cost everyone unnecessary stress and scrambling. Now for closing day. First, who needs to be there? Nowadays, nobody technically needs to be at the closing table. We have mobile notaries that'll go to your house or work or get documents signed wherever you want them to. If you're getting a loan, you need to sign a fat stack of documents with a notary. If it's a cash deal, usually only the seller needs to wet sign and get documents notarized, unless the buyer has to sign an affidavit. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Check your local requirements. Some states allow remote closings, others don't. I'm in Florida. Here we have RON, which is remote online notarization, so it makes things even easier. So you'll be signing documents about an inch thick if you have a loan. Yes, you should review them all, but please don't read them word for word at the closing table. I beg you. Request them for your review a few days before so you can digest them and ask any questions. Pay special attention to the settlement statement. It shows every dollar in and out. And after closing, it's going to be tough to correct any issues on the settlement statement. In order to close, title needs all documents signed, all money in, and the authorization to close by the buyer, seller, and lender. The most critical part of closing is funding. Wire transfers must go out early. If you miss the wire cutoff time of 4 p.m., you delay your closing by a day. Always verify wiring instructions by phone before sending money. Wire fraud is a real issue in real estate. It's a massive problem. I will never forget the poor old lady I worked with who wired in her entire $300,000 life savings to a scammer instead of the title company because her email account got hacked. It was sad. Nothing gets recorded until all funds are in. All documents are signed and all parties have approved the closing. Miss any of these and your closing stalls. Typically, title will send lender a copy of the signed documents for their approval and blessings to close. That's why title might hold the parties in the office a little bit longer until the lender approves. After closing, several crucial steps remain. The deed and the mortgage have to get recorded. The buyer gets their owner's policy, which you should keep forever if you're a buyer because it's proof of your clean title. You'll also need to notify the tax assessor, property manager, tenants, or HOA about the title transfer. And the last detail, tax prorations. Property taxes are usually paid in arrears, meaning at the end of the year. So you'll either get a credit or a debit depending on what time of year it is. Now, whether you're looking to do your first closing or you've closed a ton of deals, check out the free closing checklist I created using my experience of handling over 1,000 closings over the years by clicking the link below. Remember, a smooth closing is all about staying ahead of your problems. Follow these steps, stay organized, and you won't become another deal that falls apart at the finish line. If you like this video and want to learn more about maximizing profits and limiting liability in real estate, make sure to join my school community and like and subscribe for more real estate legal videos that could save you thousands of dollars.